Hi, I'm Sue Threlfo from Konica Minolta. For those who don't know me, I head up the Production and Industrial Printing Division. For those I do know, I look forward to being out to meet with you again, hopefully in the near future. Today, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to be with you from downtown Macquarie Park in Sydney, where we are launching the amazing new AccurioPress C14000 series. Thank you all for joining us online. Today we have with us comedian and entertainer Joel Osborne. Our guest comedian has toured his award-winning comedy all over the world, from Los Angeles to Launceston, and he's here with us in Macquarie Park today. Please welcome Joel Osborne.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sue, for that introduction too. I do appreciate that because I got to say, as a comedian doing live gigs, I've had some shocking introductions in my time. In fact, one of the worst introductions I've ever had happened at a corporate function where I had to come on stage after an Elvis impersonator, right? This guy's got the whole Elvis jumpsuit. He's doing Elvis's greatest hits. I'm waiting side of stage to come on. I swear to God, this was his introduction, word for word. He goes, "Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we got coming to the stage now a very funny comedian. He's performed in all the major comedy festivals and all over the world. Even in my favorite town of Viva Las Vegas. Would you now welcome to the stage?" Hey, what was your name again, mate? I appreciate that introduction, Sue. And I got to welcome everyone from not only around Australia, but from around the world. And throughout Australia, I have to say a big shout out to all of our friends down in Victoria at the moment. And I have to say, Victoria is one of my favourite places to perform in, not only doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival, but also the regional gigs around Victoria. A place called Glenrowan really stands out in my mind. And for anyone that's been there, you'll know it's an iconic piece of Australian history when Ned Kelly and his gang were shot and captured. And I know a lot of people here within the printing industry are also in sales. And I want to give you a heads up. If you do go there, have a look at this building called Ned Kelly's Last Stand Experience, because there's this old guy there behind the counter would have to have one of the best sales techniques I have ever seen in my life, right? The moment I step foot in there, this guy just starts going off. He was like, "Hey, son, chap, buster, you listen up here, bottlenose. This here is a $4.4 million extravaganza, all right? There is nothing else like this in the world. It is a recreation of Ned Kelly's Last Stand via animatronics. After paying the admission fee, you will swear that you're in the presence of bush rangers. That's how real this experience is." And after paying my $18 admission, I was like, wow, it's so true. I feel like I've been robbed. So I got to say that this is a whole new experience for all of us doing this launch here today. I'm usually doing this to a live audience where I get a reaction, but I can feel the love coming through the internet at the moment from you all watching. And I have to say that, you know, this pandemic has been taking over the world, but we in Australia have been handling it pretty well because I feel that we as Australians are kind of, you know, we're prepared for this pandemic because we're not very motivated people, which makes us perfect people for this situation. Because you ask the average Australian, they're like, what? I got to stay home, sit on the couch, drink beer, order takeout. Australia, we got this. Now, a lot of industries have been affected by the pandemic. I know the printing industry and my industry of doing live performances, and also the film industry has been affected. There's been major films that have been cancelled, like Fast and the Furious 9 that was announced, that was cancelled. So there are some positives to come out of this pandemic. And there's another major film which I was personally looking forward to seeing, which was Top Gun 2 with Tom Cruise. Now, a lot of people were disappointed that was meant to come out this month. Look, I'm going to give you now, for everyone watching here today, so that you don't feel like you're missing out on everything, I'm going to give you Tom Cruise in Top Gun 2 and pretty much every other film Tom Cruise has ever been in. Here we go. Tom Cruise in every film for you guys here today watching. Was that too tall? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got to say, we got a huge presentation for you today. You probably noticed just before I go that I'm wearing a wedding ring. I got married just last week, and Konica Minolta played a big part in my marriage. And I'm going to be back with you later on to tell you all about that. So I'm excited, and over to the big presentation for today. Thank you, Sue.
Thanks, Tom. I mean, Joel. So I don't need to elaborate on what a difficult time it has been for so many in our industry. It certainly feels like the light at the end of the tunnel is getting just a little brighter day by day, at least in some parts of Australia. Each business is different, so the circumstances and speed to recovery rely on many different elements. Certainly, the industry sectors you service can be a significant factor in the recovery phase. However, it seems in all printing businesses these days, the conversation now is always around increased efficiencies. Before we hit the pandemic earlier this year, Konica Minolta globally had launched our new branding, Rethink. It could not have been more pertinent than at this time. In Australia, we have a community of passionate, business-minded individuals who are now needing to rethink so many elements of their business to ensure they are sustainable beyond 2020. Today, we're officially launching the high-speed Accurio C12000 and C14000, which fortunately delivers on this efficiency requirement. So what will we do today to provide you with some insight into this? In a tick, I'll hand over to Grant Thomas. Grant, who is our product marketing manager, will share a little more about the product itself and what it can deliver. Following that, we will have a short demonstration of the C14000 and the new TU510 trimmer unit with Luke Mortlock, who is our production printing solution analyst here in Sydney. We have a couple of installations of the C14000 here in Australia already. And following our session today, we will send you a link to a video of Imagination Graphics, our first customer, discussing how his press is going. Our goal today is to give you a short snapshot of what this new press can do. We have held several both live in Sydney and virtual demonstrations with file testing for other states in the past months. So if this piques your interest today, we have the opportunity to dig deeper with you at a later date. And at the end, please stay on the line as our friend Joel has a couple of things up his sleeve to wrap up. We plan to achieve all of this and close the session at around 11:15. If you have any questions along the way, you should see a Q&A option on your screen. Just type them in there, and if we have time, we'll answer them at the end. Now, over to you, Grant.
Thanks, Sue. Hello, everyone. This morning, I'm going to outline the key features of the new AccurioPress C14000 colour print systems. The C14000 delivers new levels of high-speed colour printing. It offers productivity on an extensive range of media, handling media types and weights from 52 to 450 GSM with ease. Fast print speeds of up to 140 pages per minute A4, that's just under 8,000 sheets per hour, and 80 pages per minute on A3 sheets. That's a super fast 4,500 sheets per hour. Our air suction feeding units incorporate automated air controls based on media setup, while providing high capacity media of up to 14,140 sheets, allowing longer print runs without operator intervention. The new high capacity stacker is capable of stacking up to 6,000 sheets without operator intervention, and able to be unloaded without having to stop printing, increasing overall print productivity. Our new print technology is designed to reduce operator setup times by as much as 30%, while delivering exceptional colour print quality. The new inline media detection sensor has been developed to reduce operator errors while setting up unknown media, automatically detecting the weight, thickness and surface type for each dock, and will propose the appropriate media settings for the best print results. The Intelligent Quality Optimizer, the IQ501, provides ease of use with automated setup and real-time colour and registration controls that ensures exceptional colour and image position sheet to sheet from first to last page. The IQ501 has been further advanced to work seamlessly with the higher print definition, now at 2400 by 3600 dots per inch with 8-bit gradation. Our unique hybrid scanner system manages colour consistency from job to job, so prints are matched perfectly. Konica Minolta has been developing highly awarded production print systems for over 16 years now. The C14000 is a true result of the global collaboration with R&D, with over 4 years in design and development. With a heavy-duty design for exceptional long life, up to 70 million prints, and tailored operator maintenance programs designed to help maximise productivity whilst reducing operator intervention and eliminating manual touch points. The C14000 provides exceptional flexibility on media types, weight and sheet sizes to help to expand creativity and print offerings to your print customers. Envelope printing is standard. Expanded embossed media printing is now capable. 900mm long auto duplex and 1300mm simplex is all part of long sheet capability. The availability of 4 print controllers to match your requirement and print workflow. With a huge range of paper input and inline finishing to meet your every digital print requirement. Today, we also launch our next generation inline finishing, the TU510. This advanced 4-side trimmer will be another first for the digital print market, with an array of slitting, cutting and creasing to provide a finished output that will benchmark the possibilities with inline finishing. Offering inline printed and finished business cards, postcards and full bleed finished prints are all made possible to manage quick turnarounds, reduced labour and offline finishing. The new AccurioPress C14000 series will add value to any high volume colour print requirement while offering a competitive print cost structure to assist print margins. The C14000 series delivers exceptional quality, consistency and reliability with faster print speeds matched with higher print volumes. Luke, now over to you for a close-up look.
Okay, everybody, I'm really excited to be able to show you the new C14000 in person. So we'll start at the paper feeding end, where I'll highlight some of our unique features in our paper feeding technology. Our standard paper trays allow us to run everything from a 100 by 140mm sheet up to a 330 by 487mm sheet in our trays that include air separation from the sides and from the front to eliminate and reduce any double sheet feeding. You'll also notice we have no feed rollers here, so this is a vacuum feeding system that is really there to make sure you can get reliable feeding on both your gloss coated stocks and your really thin papers that can be quite troublesome, offset pre-printed shells even, where the dust would gum up those rollers. Now this will work in these trays for the machine up to the 450 GSM rated of the machine, and we run at the same speed for all weights. On top of our standard trays, we then have our manual feed tray sitting on top here. Now this will allow us to print either a 900mm duplex or double-sided sheet or 1.3 metre single-sided sheet through our bypass. We do have coming in next month will be a new tray system that will include up to 900mm sheets in trays with vacuum feeding. Okay, so we'll move along into the engine. Now, larger toner size bottles in this machine compared to our previous. This is going to reduce the frequency that you need to replace toner in this machine, approximately 200,000 impressions to a bottle. Now this contains our new Symmetry 5 toner, which is developed specifically to be both low gloss to give a more offset look and also less static in the finished sheet coming out, which is important for your offline finishing. This toner is also auto refining, which means it has developer built in, so that in here, if you're doing a high run of low coverage or even black and white work, you're not going to deteriorate the print quality when you go back to colour, because we don't scavenge toner back off the drums back through the system. So we're maintaining that proportion of developer to pigment in the hoppers. In behind the drums here, we also have one of our new technologies, a new anti-bias roller to extend the life of the drums. So this is the first of the technologies you'll see that are aiming to minimise the amount of servicing required or increase the time between service calls. We'll move now down to the paper path. So as the paper comes in, the first thing it comes to is our media sensor. Now this media sensor has both a thickness, a weight and a surface setting. Now this sensor can be used when chosen by the operator. They might be unsure as to whether to run a particular media as coated or uncoated because it's sort of in the middle. So they can then ask the machine to test a sheet using this sensor, and it will analyse the sheet and give a recommendation of the best setting to use when you load the paper to optimise the result through the machine. When we move past the media sensor, we then get to our registration module. So when we come into registration, first thing that happens is we have our anti-skew rollers here. So this is designed to straighten the sheet to make sure we don't have skew. This is very important when you have the longer sheet. You can imagine with a 900mm sheet, a little bit of movement gets magnified by the time you get to the back end of 900mm. So what we do as the sheet comes in, the rollers back here lift off the back of the sheet so there's no friction, so it can straighten the sheet without any restriction. Once the sheet is straight, a registration roller will move the sheet into the middle of the machine, and we then have a sensor that detects the position of the lead and outboard edges of the sheet. We then move the image on the belt to suit the position of every individual piece of paper, so we always have a consistent distance in from the lead and outboard edges. So even if the paper size varies a little bit, then we're always going to have our lay corner in the guillotine because everything will be consistently in from that corner. After we've registered the sheet, it then proceeds here to the transfer section. This is where we transfer the image. Now, new to this machine is a variable pressure transfer. You can see this raises and lowers. Now, this is to do two things. It's both to deal with trail edge flick on the more rigid stock. So this is one of the technologies that allows us to go up to the 450 GSM. And it also is of great assistance and has greatly improved our result on textured stocks. That is one of the big new things for this machine. After image transfer, we head into the fuser, which is quite robust. This one weighs 43 kilos. It comes with a trolley to take it on and off, so don't worry, you don't have to pick that up. Inside the fuser, we use a belt system on the top because that gives us a longer circumference. That gives us more time to reset the surface temperature of that belt and do our long sheet prints without banding, because if you get a temperature change, that can happen. So with the long belt, we eliminate that issue. Also in the fuser, we have stripper fingers on the bottom to stop the sheet wrapping around the bottom roller, but we don't have them on the top side, because if you did, any unfused toner could catch on those fingers and then it starts to cause scratching in your prints. So what we do instead is we have an air knife that jets an airstream against that fuser belt to make sure the sheet peels off and comes out, but there's nothing there for the unfused toner to build up on. And jetting air actually helps clean the belt as well. Lastly, in our fuser, the whole fuser oscillates from side to side. So if you run smaller sheet sizes through your traditional machines, you may have had wear marks develop in your fuser roller that resulted in the need for a service call to get that resolved, or you may have even had a spare fuser. What we do is the fuser oscillates back and forward, so it's in a different position when every sheet runs, and this will extend that time so that you don't need as frequent servicing of the fuser unit. Last thing about the fuser, just before I close up, we also have a new cleaning web in there that is a non-contact cleaning web. This is designed again to increase the quality and extend the time between service calls. What we'll do now, we'll move on to finishing. This first unit is called our relay unit. Now, primarily, this is a mechanical decurler. So if you have a sheet coming out that is curled, we can flatten it down, or if it's curled that way, we can flatten that to make sure your sheets are coming out nice and flat. The good thing about this particular decurler unit is if you're running a heavier stock that doesn't need decurling, we can turn the decurlers off, and then we have a flat paper path straight across the top so that it optimizes or simplifies the paper path for the more rigid stocks, so you don't get more reliable feeding. Other than the decurlers, this unit also has a rehumidification system. Now, in our paper trays, we have dehumidifiers to reduce the moisture content in less expensive stocks so that we improve the print quality. But with that drier media, then when it comes through, that can cause either curl or static can be introduced. So here we have the option to rehumidify the paper and put moisture back in. You can choose this stock by stock, and this will help with both curl and static issues as well. Although I will admit I haven't had to use this with the new low static toners, but nice to have a backdrop. Last thing on the relay unit, we have our first output tray. So you can choose to output print to here, save you walking to the end if you have a large configuration. And it is also very useful if you have certain online finishing devices, the long sheet can't go through some of them. So then you can output your long sheet up here. All right, we'll now move on to my favorite piece of technology. This is our image quality optimizer, or IQ501. Now what this consists of is two scanners, one above and one below the paper path, and a spectrophotometer. And it's how we use these in combination with each other that gives us some quite unique advantages. Most high-end production devices these days have the ability to print a sheet and do a front to back alignment, and we can certainly do that. Most production devices have the ability to print a calibration page, so you don't have to sit there and hand swipe with a spectrophotometer to calibrate the system. And we can certainly do that. But we go a long way past that. The first thing we can do is we can configure the machine, if you choose to, that every time you load a new paper and then you send the first job, the first thing the machine will do is it will print this sheet. And it will have the registration grid on both sides, that it will check the front to back alignment. It will then read the color densities, and it will compare the densities to the saved targets for this particular stock. So it might go and say, okay, the yellow was a bit light, the cyan was a bit dark, and it'll calculate the adjustments it needs to make. It will then produce the second sheet with those adjustments applied and correct itself, confirm it's now hitting that target, and then release your job automatically. So what we've done by automating that is that in the real world, operators don't calibrate as often as they should. They're under time pressure to get work out, they have jobs to do, or they think the machine just looks okay. And what happens is they run a job today and your customer takes that job away, but then in 3 months' time, they come back and they want to do a reprint. And in that reprint, they want to color match the first one. And because they didn't calibrate originally, even though it looked okay, they then have to spend an hour or two chasing their tail to try and get that color back to what they did on the first run. So by automating calibration actually happens, that will minimize that time to get back to that original color, because the machine has been baselined with every different stock that you put in. But that's not the best part, because they're still internal calibration test pages, if you like. Where we get really good is that we put both color bars and registration marks on your live job sheets. And what that allows us to do is to track the both registration and the color the entire production run. So every sheet that you print is tracked for registration and color, and we can adjust and correct that on the fly. So if the registration moves, we'll correct it. If the color density changes, it will be corrected. The best part about it is you can set a tolerance, and if for whatever reason it moves outside of that tolerance, the machine will stop the job. So what you eliminate is that scenario where you started something running, you went off to run a finishing machine, talk to a customer on the phone, and you come back, pick up the first sheet off the finished job pile, and you look at it and you think, the registration's moved, that's no good. I have to throw that in the bin, manually come and fix the problem, and then rerun the job. So with IQ and the fact that it will stop the job automatically if it goes outside of your tolerance, you eliminate that rerun. Very powerful. All right. So we've been selling the IQ on our smaller machines for about 2 years now, but about the middle of last year, we launched a new capability with IQ. Now, traditionally, if you were doing a print job and you saw a streak or an artifact of some kind, the normal response would be to go and book a service call and wait for an engineer to come and fix the problem. What you can now do with the IQ is you can go over to the control panel and you can ask it to print a diagnostic sheet. Now, what it will do is run these 2 pages. It will then scan these 2 pages and analyze them. And it might say that it's found streaks in the yellow, spots in the magenta, deletions in the cyan, and then it will initiate cleaning processes back here in the engine to clean the Corotron wires, to re-neutralize the drums, to clean the fuser, to try and resolve those print quality issues for you so you don't have to wait for an engineer to come. Now, of course, in the real world, if there's scratches on the drum, there's nothing it can do about that, so it's not going to be able to solve every single problem. However, when you do have that scenario where it can't fix the problem, what it will do is it will upload the scan of just these 2 sheets to our server. So then when you place a service call and you say, I ran the diagnostic, but it didn't fix my problem, I need an engineer, they'll put that note in the case. The engineer who gets the call will read that, and that will trigger them to log on and have a look at the scan from your machine. They will then say, oh, I recognize that type of mark. I've seen that before, so I know I need to bring this part and this part, so they, when they get on site, can get your machine back in production in a faster turnaround time and get you going again. So that is quite powerful, even when it can't resolve the problem by itself. So that was the second feature of IQ 501. Late last year at Printex, we launched an upgrade to IQ 501, which is this additional module here, which is called the Auto Inspection Unit. Now, what this does, in a typical production environment, you're always going to run one sheet out, a proof, to check before you do the production run. When you do that, the IQ will scan that proof and it will save that inside the machine. Then, when you do the production run, you ask, okay, I want you now to check every single copy. And at full rated speed, 140 sheets a minute, it will scan every copy. And as it's coming around through this additional auto inspection unit here, it will compare the scan of copy 1 to the proof, and then copy 2 to the proof. And it will look for artifacts, whether they be streaks, spots, deletions, that may or may not have been, or that weren't on the proof. And if it's a good one and it's okay, it allows it to continue. If it is a bad one and it finds a streak that shouldn't be there, it will reject the sheet out to the reject tray up here and then add another copy count so that you still get your 100 sets at the end. So this is like an automated quality control system. Okay. So now we'll move on. This is the new inline trimmer unit, the TU510 that Sue mentioned before. Now what this unit does is it gives us the ability to do a number of things. This has multiple modules. The first thing it will do is to slit the outside edges of a sheet. This next module will then put creasing into a sheet, up to 5 creases. The next module will do internal slitting, and then the final one will do cross-direction trimming. So what this would allow us to do is take a sheet like this, trim the edges, do the trims up the middle, and then all the cuts, and produce things like A5, 4-up A5 out of an SRA3 sheet, or 6-up DLs, even business cards, which I will show you in a second, which are delivered down here into a business card tray, where the business cards, instead of coming out of your machine as a normal flat sheet that you then would have to hand to your guillotine operator to spend 10 minutes to trim before they box, they're coming out ready to put straight in the box so that you can take them out of this tray and ship them to your customer without any further involvement. Okay. We'll now move on to our new line stacker released with this machine. Now this is designed to minimize the pause if you only have a single line stacker when the stacker fills and needs to be unloaded, to minimize that pause before the machine can fire up again. Now the way that will happen is you'll see inside there is an elevator tray that's currently lowering. That would be lowering while it's filling up during printing. Now I, on this occasion, have pushed the button to eject the machine. It's going to lower it down onto an ejection tray. You'll see the clear door come up. It will now slide the ejection tray out the front. Now, after that has come out, you'll see the clear door close and you'll see the elevator tray raise up on the inside. Now, as soon as that's hit there, you will now see the machine can cycle up and start to print. Okay, so we have that there. Now, what I can do while that's happening is I can bring the trolley and unload that by pushing the button here. Now the machine could be running while this is happening, so the machine is not paused at this point. So now it's rejected, I can wheel that trolley away and the machine is running through to the elevator tray and continuing. Now what we're going to do now, we're going to see a number of different print jobs come out. So the first job that you will see run is going to be some A4 single-sided that will come to the sub tray up here. So this is just to show you that 140 page a minute speed. So you can see that coming out there. Okay, the next job that's going to come out now is some single-sided SRA3, which will come on the main tray. Okay, the next job you will see now is some double-sided SRA3. Remembering this machine runs at the same speed for all weight stock, so it does not change for thin or thicker stock. So we have the double-sided coming out. All right, at this point, we're now going to see the trimmer unit fire up in action. So you will see, if I take those off, that we're going to have, some long sheet was coming out behind me that I forgot about, but that's okay. So you can see the 900 duplex sheet coming out there. Now while we're waiting, we're now going to transfer to the trimmer unit trimming some 6-up DLs. Of course, we have various other inline finishing options available, whether they be inline punch units, 3-edge trims, square fold booklet makers. All of those things are available. I still think it looks pretty cool to see the 3 DLs come out side by side. This will now be followed by the last job, which is an actual 4-up A5s being trimmed. So remembering, we'd be used to it coming out like this as a single sheet that had to be guillotined, but now what we're seeing is finished A5s come out ready to put in the box. So is quite powerful in the ability to do that. Okay, this is the last sheet. All right, so at this point, I will hand over to Sue for question and answers. Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. That was great. So just before you go, I think most of the questions are for you, really. And we've had a number come through, so thank you very much for your questions. I'm not sure if we'll get through them all today. With envelopes,
yes.
How many can it stack?
Yep.
And can it do window-faced envelopes?
Okay, so we have a dedicated envelope fuser that will allow the machine to run at the full rated speed, or if you're only doing short runs, you can use the standard fuser and it will run at a reduced speed. Stacking, we can load up the tray, essentially the pile height in the tray. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but yeah, I would guess you'd be several hundred in the tray without a problem.
Okay, thank you. Is the 400 GSM spec a true 400 GSM or a thickness limited one?
Okay, so absolutely, there are different micron thickness 450 GSMs. We have run constantly a 470 micron King Kong high bulk 420 gram through here with very successful results. we have tested a 540 micron, I'm trying to remember, sovereign offset board that also runs very well. So it is absolutely a true 450 GSM. Sorry.
Okay. The TU510, is it part of the C14000 or a separate device?
Okay, so Konica uses a modular technology, so you can choose which accessories. It's not standard with the 14000, but it's certainly available as an option, as you saw here today.
You said that it will print on 52 GSM. Does it mean it can print on an offset or digital NCR 60 GSM?
Absolutely. I have run a lot of 60 GSM through this machine and it runs very, very well without any problem. So it certainly will run NCR.
What is the volume of prints per month on the C14000?
Okay, so this machine is very comfortable at 700,000 A4 equivalents per month, and in a peak period can be pushed up to 2.5 million A4 equivalents in a month.
There are a few others, but I think in the interest of time, we will get back to you on those. I'll just take this last one. What is the price for the C14000? I would have been surprised to have not seen that one come in. As you saw, we have so many options in both controllers and finishing units that it really does depend on the configuration that's going to be suitable to you. So your account manager will definitely be able to help you with that. So thank you. There you have it. I hope you can see why we are so excited about the C14000 series, rethinking new levels of efficiency and new applications for you to offer your customers. In a moment, I will hand back to Joel to wrap up. However, I wanted to make mention of the other key ingredient when choosing a new digital printer. That ingredient is the ongoing service and support you will receive after the installation. The Konica Minolta service team has an outstanding reputation in our industry for providing efficient, fast service and support to our clients. And combined with the reliability of this new press, we look forward to working with you to deliver the firepower you need to build for success now and in the future. Following this event, you will have the opportunity to register for a sample pack and hear our customer, Imagination Graphics, talk about their new C14000 press. Your account manager will be happy to answer any additional questions or arrange a demonstration for you. So thank you. Take it away, Joel.
Thank you, Sue. Well, as I mentioned earlier on, I did get married last week, and Konica Minolta played a big part in the wedding reception with printing out the menus. These were personalized. Look, you're probably going to wince a lot of the printers out there when I tell you personalized menus for each person that came to the wedding. Plus, we had pre-selected meals that were put on there. So a big shout out to Katya at Color Graphics and her team for doing such a fantastic job in printing this on a Konica Minolta machine. And everyone was just blown away by that at the wedding reception. But watching the demonstration today and also seeing how a lot of these machines work, and also there at Color Graphics seeing how the Konica Minolta machines work, I've been inspired myself to develop my own style of printing, which I want to share with you and leave you with today. Now, I'm going to just hand that over to you, please, Sue. And I just want to grab this piece of paper here. If you could hold the mic for me. This is basically a new fold technology that I've developed. You see, I have a blank piece of paper here. I'm going to fold it in half. And this is a technology that I'm really excited about. I'm premiering it today for all you watching there. And see, all we do is some simple folds on it, and then we do the final fold like so, and then place it back like so, unfold it, and there we have a genuine $50 note. So I figure if I perform this about, I don't know, 1,000 more times, I got a down payment on the new C1400 machine. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for watching today, and I wish you all the best with the year ahead.
Giving shape to ideas. Konica Minolta.